We got Monday Night Football. We've got tons of basketball today, a little bit of hockey sprinkled in there. We'll just talk a little bit about some of the football that we watched yesterday. I was helping out my friend Mohammed, so I was at his house. We were doing some broadcasting there for his Hoop Wars thing that he's working on. He's got this competition coming up. It's going to be released soon. So I was watching a little bit of the Dolphins and the Bears. I was watching some of the Rams and the Buccaneers, some of the Seahawks, a little bit here, a little bit there. It wasn't really an exciting weekend, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of teams that kind of we thought were going to perform a little bit better, but they didn't. Pretty much some news here today. Frank Reich has been relieved of his duties as the Colts head coach. He had a 40-33-1 record, but the team just obviously not sure which direction they want to go in. We're seeing this from some teams that maybe we had hopes for. I don't think anyone had too many hopes for the Colts this season. Sam Ehlinger is now replacing Matt Ryan. Jonathan Taylor has been kind of invisible. He's been suffering from injury. I hope when he comes back, it might be too late. I think it's too late for the Colts. They have a 3-5-1 record right now, but things aren't looking good over there. Things aren't looking good in Green Bay or the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of teams are just not looking so hot right now. So we're going to be taking a little bit of a peek at Monday Night Football because it's going on right now. I'll be working on a bunch of stuff though as the time goes by. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Astros winning the World Series. I was pretty busy on Saturday. I didn't get much time to react. I was watching the press conferences. I was watching the interview with Verlander and Dusty after the game. So I had to pick my parents up from the airport. That was a few hours after, and I was supposed to. It was really going to work out great for me because the game was going to be over and all the celebration. I was probably didn't have to be rushed or anything like that for TV. I was figuring I would just drive out there about 9 p.m. out here on the Pacific Coast, West Coast, but everything was delayed about 2.5 hours, so I was up super late that night. I didn't get anything productive done. But what I did want to talk about was I want to talk about the Verlander interview at the end. So he got his ring. Everyone was kind of wondering, there was the big Fox panel because they were broadcasting the game. You had A-Rod, you had Papi Ortiz with them on the panel there, and they were asking Verlander, like, hey, bud, are you going to come back? What do you have in store for us next season? I mean, the guy's 39 years old. He's an outstanding pitcher, outstanding athlete. I wish him all the best if he retires. It's a great way to end your career. So his daughter was there with him, and I'm pretty sure what Big Papi was wondering was what Kate thought about him, if he continued to play, if he didn't want to play. What's kind of the dynamic regarding that topic, because clearly Verlander's been probably thinking about it for the last few years now, coming back from injury and now winning. Well, are we going to go right back into winning because the Astros are looking like untouchable right now? If Verlander sticks around, I mean, the team is still going to be as saturated as they are this season, which we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the Phillies and what kind of happened, what kind of broke down, what kind of just turned out to be the end of their season and why they just couldn't figure anything out. So Kate goes on the show, and Papi asks her, what do you think about him coming back? Should he retire? Whatever. What's going on? And she just said, she had a great answer. She said pretty much, I just love it when he is doing what he loves. He's just working super hard on his craft, which makes total sense. Like, not just, it doesn't have to just make sense. You can keep going. You can keep playing. But what's going on when baseball is not at the crux of your life, Yes, it's very important to keep doing what you're doing, but what's really more important? I think Verlander is in an absolutely amazing spot right now where he can look at and, look, what's the most important thing in my life right now? They were trying to get kind of a response, probably a Tom Brady response. They wanted to know what are you going to do? Are you going to retire and then you're going to come back? Are you going to keep playing? Are you going to play till you're 45? Are you going to play till you're 50? Like, what's going to happen, Because clearly everyone's looking at this right now with the Brady and the Giselle divorce, and they're thinking, well, this is kind of the antithesis of what Brady wanted probably this time last year, or even at the end of last season, because nothing has gone well for the Buccaneers, and turns out the things at home weren't going that great either. I tried to stay out of it because it's none of my business. I think reports aren't the whole story. I think obviously the best case scenario is what happened for the media, because rumors aren't something that we should be encouraging. So obviously when Giselle and Brady broke the news on their Instagram stories, that helped. That cleared a lot of light for us. But anyway, back to basics. Wish Verlander all the best. I hope he comes back, honestly, because the team is just a unit. Everybody's a unit. Everybody is just yoked together, my guy. Everything. Looking at the Phillies and where they stand, I think it's a simple fix, but it's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. They're just simply not what the Astros are. So I mentioned this last week. I said that the Phillies look great. This was probably when they had just won Game 3. I believe it was 7-0 or something like that. They had just won, and I was looking at that game, and I was thinking, okay, so the Astros are struggling, clearly. Is their pitching are their pitchers struggling? Well, we're going to have to see. Obviously, you can put it all on Lance because he blew that game. If you remember, Lance McCullers Jr. allowed 7 runs, 5 home runs. I think he only played a 4 1/3 inning, something rather. So you can look at that. You can blame it all on him. It wasn't a combined pitching staff effort that failed us. So, oh man, everything. The revolutionary amendment of Game 4 and the no-hitter that just blew everything up for them in the World Series. Everything changed after that game. Of course it did. Not just that, but how poorly Washington. Why do I keep saying Washington? I think of Bryce Harper and I say Washington. The Phillies, the combined poor performances. Oh man, I'm going to get into some of the stats here. So pretty much the attrition just culminated in a quintessential battle that completely defined the World Series, and that was in Game 4. And then everything fell apart from there. Subsequently, games 4 through 6, Rhys Hoskins was 0 of 13. Realmuto had already been struggling horrendously. He was 0 of 12. Castellanos was 0 of 11. This is just games 4 through 6. Harper was 1 of 8. Schwarber was cranking out dingers like his life depended on it. But other than that, who cares? Who cares about Schwarber's dingers? Because the only hits that he had were those home runs. There wasn't a single useful runner for them. There wasn't any threat on base for the Phillies. So I kind of glossed over this, but pretty much what I meant to say was what I mentioned last week about the Phillies being a complete and total team. This is the exact opposite. This is the antithetical Houston Astros we're talking about, okay? Because they were struggling, yes, but they were struggling such that Alvarez, Altuve, okay, they're not hitting, no problem. We got Gurriel and Pena. They're going to hit for us, okay? Who else is struggling? Kyle Tucker, Bregman, they're not getting base hits? Okay, well, let's throw in Christian Vasquez. He'll get us a base hit. Chas McCormick, he'll hit a double. He can run. He can fly. All together, they were just – it was like Alvarez was struggling, no doubt about it. Even after he hit his home run, that was 2 hits in the entire World Series. He might have had one in game 1 or 2, something like that. But when the games got – when the attrition was starting to impact teams, what we saw was Alvarez was still struggling, in my opinion. He hit that huge home run, but again, it was just the opportunity. It was the timely hits that the Phillies did not have. There isn't a single weakness, I think, at all with the Houston Astros. Dusty Baker, hats off to him, the quintessential manager for the ages. He got his ring. Moving right along, there's about 1,000 college basketball games on right now. Nothing too crazy. I'm not too concerned about that. Kind of switching on a dime from baseball to basketball here, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So what is it? November 7th. We're kicking things off. College basketball. I'm not personally too crazy about this year. I think that a lot of people are going to feel that same way, especially when June rolls around and the draft is like, okay, well, more and more reporters nowadays are saying that there might not even be a college candidate in the top 5. But I don't think that that's the case because it's way too early to see, because injuries are going to play a role and where players end up, and declaring for the draft as well. Jay Wright, 21 years at Villanova, he won't be there anymore. So, I mean, what a run. Same with Coach Krzyzewski. He won't be there anymore. Stanford adds Peja Stojakovic's son, Andre. He's ranked top 24 prospects by ESPN. Ron Holland as well, 5-star prospect, commits to Texas. I'm sure, next year, a lot of colleges will be looking at DJ Wagner. But in the meantime, let's see what he's got in high school. Bro, just enjoy it, have fun. Please don't go straight into the NBA draft, okay? Please don't do it. Go to college or something. Play pro in Europe like Luka did. I'm a huge fan of that, but I am a huge fan. I think what's more important is pursuing your scholar potential, because the odds are going to be more in your favor. Having said that, if you're the first overall draft prospect for universities going into 2023, I think you have to look at the reality that, okay, if I work really, really, really hard in college and I get the opportunity to declare for the NBA draft, I think I'm going to be pretty good, pretty well off. But dude, just don't let it get to your head, okay? Please don't do that, all right? So, yeah, a little bit of basketball little bit of basketball happening today. Joel Embiid is taking the day off. Harden is out for the next month. Cavs and Clippers later tonight, so NBA TV is doing a little bit of broadcasting, and then TNT does Tuesday. I forget who does Wednesday. I think it's ESPN does Wednesday and Friday, and then TNT does Tuesdays and Thursdays. They mixed it up. Inside the NBA is tomorrow night. So, yeah, that Cavs and Clippers game is not going to be worth it either. Kawhi's out indefinitely now. That's what Ty Lue is saying. I'm gonna read you actually what Ty Lue said. I think this is as of today, as of Monday. He said it was going to be a straight. Oh no, it wasn't going to be a straight line for Kawhi's return to basketball after the injury. The biggest thing is Kawhi is progressing well. We're just going to follow the lead of our medical staff. We got to be smart about the situation. I'm sorry. There isn't a timetable for his return. The objective is to have him healthy for the playoffs. Oh man, this is like imagine if like Ty Lue and the medical staff was in charge of NASA and they had to send an astronaut to the moon. Imagine if that was their job. Oh yeah, it's 1965. We're gonna probably get a man to the moon in the next 100 years, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh man, like, is there anything specific here, like that we can look at Kawhi Leonard's injury? I'm gonna keep talking about it until he returns to play, or until we hear something that actually makes sense. Because none of this is actually. Ty Lue isn't saying anything. He's just probably reading a teleprompter. Because Kawhi Leonard is absolutely inexcusably absent. There's nothing going on here. Okay, the medical staff. Is it really the medical staff? Is that what it is? All these physicians for these independent teams, these independent franchises, man. Who knows where they're getting their reference for as far as players. The relationship, I think it's just like a revolving door between the three people: the players, the coach, and the medical staff. They probably haven't been in the same room for probably a year now. I mean, who actually knows what's going on? I don't want to assume the worst. I want to assume the best. But there is no way that you can have Kawhi ready for the playoffs if he's never going to play in the regular season. He's only logged 40 minutes so far in the regular season, 42 minutes to be exact. Anyway, I hope Kawhi comes back. I really do. It just sucks to see him be absent for 17 months now from the NBA. And there's nothing to support his absence either, because it's just completely there hasn't. Okay, he had an ACL injury, but that's about it. That's about all we know, and there isn't a single update since that injury. Damian Lillard is returning today, so that's a good sign. Tonight versus Miami.